Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, March 6, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really for this stuff. Alright, so let's just take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a cold front stretching all the way from the North Atlantic into portions of the southwestern Atlantic right there to the north of the Eastern Caribbean. And for the most part, the entire Atlantic region, including the Caribbean, is being dominated by ridges of high pressure, sending a lot of easterly trade winds into the Caribbean. And if you actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the line of clouds associated with that cold front right there to the north of the Eastern Caribbean. And we can also see those low-level patches of clouds moving from east to west in that easterly wind brought about by that high pressure ridge. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made for today's weather yesterday. It was stated that sections of eastern Jamaica, which includes the parishes of maybe Kingston and St. Andrew, Portland and St. Thomas, would have received some amount of rainfall across portions of the island around 11 a.m. by both the Euro and the GFS, which was showing some amount of blues across those spots for that time. And what ended up happening? We had some amount of clouds coming in from the east at around 10:16 a.m., showing some clouds, bringing some overcast skies and some isolated showers within that. Maybe brought some rainfall to portions of eastern St. Thomas and eastern Portland around that time. So that prediction actually came true. And if we actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see that we had a buildup of clouds across portions of inland areas of some central parishes, and we had a lot of overcast skies brought about by some clouds across portions of western Jamaica. Not much in the way of rainfall, though. If we actually take a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. If we actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we see that Jamaica is embedded in some slight yellows. That's indicative of maybe some slightly above normal temperatures by both the Euro and the GFS models. Both maps are showing 18Z on Tuesday. When we calculate that, that's about 1 p.m. on Tuesday. So we should be receiving some slightly above normal temperatures, maybe 1 degree Celsius above normal. And what are the average temperatures for the month of March? About 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe we might be getting up to 1 degree Celsius above average. If you actually calculate that on the thermometer, 87 degrees Fahrenheit on the thermometer is the equivalent to about 31 degrees Celsius. So maybe we might get anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. If we actually take a look at the dry air map for tomorrow, we can see that we have a lot of oranges and reds still across portion of Jamaica, indicative of a lot of dry air across the region. The actual Saharan dust, however, can be seen by all of those slight browns right there across the southern section of the Caribbean and the eastern Atlantic. Not much across Jamaica for tomorrow. Not much of anything at all, to be honest. And this map is showing 2 p.m. on Tuesday. If we actually take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that majority of Jamaica for Tuesday at 12 p.m. by the Euro, we are seeing a lot of blues in and around the island. That's indicative of anywhere from less than 2-meter wave height. And we see the same thing on the GFS models. So we won't be having a lot of strong winds bringing in that high wave height. The winds will be coming in from the east, but they won't be as strong as to bring those high wave heights. We can see that we have some greens that represent anywhere from 10 to let's say 15 knot winds from the east for tomorrow. However, the precipitation forecast shows a lot of blues across portions of northern and eastern Jamaica. The Euro is showing 4 a.m. We see lots of blues across portions of northern Jamaica. So maybe St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, maybe even St. Thomas. Whereas the consensus, we see some blues across portions of Portland, maybe even St. Thomas at 4 a.m. tomorrow. Moving ahead to 6 a.m., we see more blues across portions of Portland and St. Thomas on the Euro. We see consensus on the GFS at that time as well. Moving ahead to 9 a.m., we see some slight blues across these very same spots on both the Euro and the GFS. Moving ahead to 11 a.m., we have about the same thing, with the GFS being more robust with the blues that represent rainfall. The GFS is showing more rainfall than the Euro, but the Euro is still showing something, so they are still consensus. However, in the afternoon hours, the Euro is showing more darker blues across portions of central and western Jamaica than what the GFS is showing. The GFS is still showing blues that represent some amount of afternoon rainfall, but we will see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, there is some consensus that some afternoon rainfall could take place across portions of central and western Jamaica for tomorrow. And any rainfall that we receive in the month of March is very good, because the average rainfall for the month of March is the lowest that we usually receive for the entire year. The map, or the bar graph at the top, is showing all the rainfall that we would normally receive across Kingston, and we can see that on that map we have the lowest, very close to 0 millimeters of rainfall. The bar graph at the bottom shows the amount of rainfall received in Montego Bay, and it's the same thing on both maps. However, this map is in inches. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see that we have a lot of patches of low-level clouds across portions of the northeastern Caribbean. So maybe the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, portions of Hispaniola, portions of western Jamaica, portions of southwestern Cuba right there. You can also see a lot of clouds across portions of Costa Rica, Panama, as well as Colombia right there. Lots of thunderstorms across portions of Colombia as well. If we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we know Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover. And we know that we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. Either way, we can see some amount of grains that represent some rainfall across portions of the British and the US Virgin Islands, sections of Puerto Rico, portions of Guadeloupe. We might have had some amount of rainfall, slight rainfall today, across portions of the waters around or in Antigua and Barbuda, maybe Montserrat, sections of Anguilla, maybe St. Martin. And if we actually take a look at the Barbados radar, we see some rainfall trailing off to the west and east of Barbados right there. Maybe some rainfall across portions of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada right there, maybe later on in the night. Not much in the way of rainfall across portions of Tobago or Trinidad at all. If we actually take a look at the wider view of radars, we can see that we have most of the rainfall right there across portions of Colombia, as well as portions of Guyana right there. If we actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS are showing that for 18Z on Tuesday, that's 1 p.m. on Tuesday, we can see some slight blues across portions of northeastern Caribbean as well as the southern Caribbean, so maybe the ABC Islands, section of northern portion of Colombia, getting in on some below average temperatures. The highest or above average temperature should be right there across portions of the United States, Cuba, portions of Mexico, Guatemala, maybe Honduras, getting in on some of those above normal temperatures. If we actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the most part, majority of the dust and the hazy skies should be across portions of the Windward Island. So maybe Barbados, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Tobago, Trinidad, maybe Venezuela, portions of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana might get in on some of those hazy skies. If you actually take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see a lot of blues that's indicative of less than 2 meter wave heights by both the Euro and the GFS, and that's due in part by the high pressure ridge right there. The high pressure dome is right there across portion of northeastern Caribbean. So we have less winds, more heat, and we have more of a, let's say, 10 to 20 knot winds forecasted for tomorrow from the east by both the Euro and the GFS. If we actually take a look at the rainfall for tomorrow, the predictions, these maps are showing the accumulated precipitation, the accumulated rainfall, all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z on Wednesday. When we calculate that, that's all the rainfall that we expect from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. The Euro and the GFS are showing consensus with the rainfall mainly across the southern Caribbean right there. Can get maybe up to 1 inch of rainfall from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday across portions of Costa Rica, Panama, portions of Colombia. Not much in the way of rainfall across portions of the eastern or northeastern Caribbean. We have disagreement right there. We can see some amount of greens across portions of maybe Jamaica and Haiti right there, but that's just about it for that. As it relates to the western sections of the basin, Mexico is in the clear. Maybe some rainfall across portions of Guatemala right there. Not much in the way of rainfall across portions of Belize though. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across the Caribbean. Thanks for watching.